Ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 2 in a deep dive series that we are doing on Pelinal Whitestrake. So if you want to learn more about the character, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on the Pelinal videos that we're going to have coming out. If you haven't watched the first video, then you should. It is like an introduction to the character. It's just a short 8-minute video, just kind of giving you some context as to who Pelinal Whitestrake is. So we're not going to be going over any of that in this video. Now, I don't actually have a script for this video. I'm just kind of going over the information that I've compiled about him and talking about it with you guys. So bear with me if you hear a lot of ums and whatnot. And I'm going to try my best to do this in one take. So bear with me when I try to pronounce some of Elder Scrolls made up words that are very odd. But that's neither here nor there. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Now let's dive in. Before we go more in detail about the actual history of Pelinal Whitestrake, I think that it's important that we take a moment to discuss a very specific aspect of the character Pelinal Whitestrake. You see, Pelinal is an Imperial. And by most accounts, he is a relatively normal Imperial. However, there is one aspect about him that is absolutely not normal at all. And we actually briefly mentioned it in the previous video, but the previous Pelinal video is more of like an introduction to the character, so we didn't really give it a lot of attention at the time. But that's why I want to make this video. So, what I'm referring to is the fact that Pelinal Whitestrake, in place of a heart, has the Amulet of Kings in his chest. Now that's literal. He has the actual Amulet of Kings in his chest. Now for all of you who have played Oblivion, you'll already know that the Amulet of Kings is a pretty powerful artifact. For everybody who hasn't played Oblivion before, let me kind of like summarize it real quick. The long and short of it is that Akatosh created the Amulet of Kings as a representation of his promise to protect the people of Nirn from the people who aren't from Nirn. That is the gross simplification of that entire part in the timeline. But what's important for today's video is that you know the Amulet of Kings is an incredibly powerful artifact that grants the wielder of it incredible power, provided that they know how to utilize the actual artifact itself. Now, why is this important? It's important because the Amulet of Kings is the beating heart of Pelinal Whitestrake. Imagine the kind of power that gives him. Imagine what kind of effect that has on Pelinal Whitestrake. And that actually brings us to the topic of today's video. You see, if certain things triggered Pelinal, or if certain things happened, certain circumstances, what have you, Pelinal had the potential to go into this sort of blind rage that the lore refers to as a madness. And that is what we're going to be highlighting in today's video. Again, guys, some of these words are totally made up and they're hard to pronounce, but I'm going to give it my best shot. So, here we go. When Huna, a hoplite that Pelinal had trained personally and cared for deeply, was killed by Silithil the singer, Pelinal Whitestrake went on his first madness. He killed without purpose and brought destruction from the cities of Narlame to Cyrodiil and destroyed those lands in a rampage, killing any and all who stood in his way. Alicia would have to pray to the gods for their help, and they reached down to the earth and calmed Pelinal until he stopped his madness, rampage, and regained composure. So yeah, that's pretty crazy, isn't it? Think about an Imperial who, by all accounts, is a regular man, aside from the fact that he has the artifact of Akatosh in his chest in place of a heart. He's going across the countryside as just a total madman, a total menace, right? Destroying everything in front of him. And the only thing that's able to make him stop is the gods themselves. That's wild. It's kind of like Pelinal is the Incredible Hulk of the Elder Scrolls universe, is kind of like the vibe that I'm getting reading this. Fivd of New Teed said that Whitestrake had no heart under his armor, only the, quote, rage of a mindless dragon, unquote. Pelinal was angered by this and would kill anyone who spoke according to the knowledge and logic of the gods except for Alessia, because she, quote, acted rather than talked, as language without effort is a dead witness, unquote. When his men heard him say these things, they went silent, and their silence angered Pelinal. Pelinal ran into the rain, laughing madly and swinging his sword while screaming, quote, "O Akka, for our shared madness I do this. Watching you watch me watching back. Umaril dares call us out, for that is how we made him." So yeah, it's clear to see that Pelinal Whitestrake was borderline unhinged. And I think that that is a direct result of having the Amulet of Kings literally keeping him alive. You see, it's different when somebody who is supposed to be wearing the Amulet of Kings wears the amulet. It seemingly does not have much an effect on them, although it stands to reason that it might provide them a little bit more clairvoyance. It might even extend their life a little bit, but that is a theory for a different video. But I think that the story of Pelinal Whitestrake goes to show us that this godly power that the Amulet of Kings has, and that other artifacts in the Elder Scrolls universe have, it's not necessarily meant to be utilized by mortals. And this oftentimes is what happens when mortals try to wield power that they just simply are not able to withstand. To me, it's pretty clear that the power given to Pelinal by the Amulet of Kings was quite literally driving him insane, to the point that he would run out into a storm and he would just scream to the skies, talking to the gods, and would refer to other people in the sense that Pelinal helped the gods make them. It's weird, and it's clearly insanity. Yeah, Pelinal's crazy. Here we have an account of Pelinal by a man called Garrod of the Men of Gi, which, by the way, I would love to do a video about the Magna Gi and the Men of Gi. If you'd like to see a video like that, leave a comment down below letting me know that I should do it. I think it'd be a really cool topic. But we gotta get back on topic for today's video. So, Garrod of the Men of Gi once witnessed Pelinal's madness in battle. When he and the Crusader had a drink together, he asked what it felt like. Pelinal described it as, quote, when the dream no longer needs its dreamer. Very interesting indeed. When the dream no longer needs its dreamer. To me, that makes me think that Pelinal may have very well been on the brink of achieving Kim. And I'll put that up on the screen because it's not Kim as in like K-I-M. It's, some people say Chim. I don't think that it's pronounced that way, but I guess you could say it either way. But think about this. I'm gonna recite two quotes back to back to kind of illustrate my point. O Akka, for our shared madness. Okay, so right then when Pelinal says, O Akka, our shared madness, what he's doing is he's talking to Akatosh, and he's insinuating that him and Akatosh share a mindset. They share a sort of connection that, from his mortal perspective, he is referring to as madness. So he says, O Akka, for our shared madness I do this. I watch you watching me watching back. And so from Pelinal's perspective, he feels like he can see Akatosh. Like Akatosh can't hide from him. Like, he can reach Akatosh, metaphorically, although maybe also literally. He goes on to say, Umaril dares call us out, which, don't worry, we'll talk about Umaril in the next video, but Umaril dares call us out, for that is how we made him. And again, you have Pelinal putting himself on the same playing field as Akatosh, elevating himself, insinuating that there's a sort of peer to each other, if that makes sense. And then he goes on to say, when the dream no longer needs its dreamer. I don't know what you guys think. I want you guys to let me know what you think down in the comment section. If you guys look at any of my previous videos, you'll see that I love going back and forth with you guys and talking with you guys about Elder Scrolls in the comment section. It's literally the whole point that I make these videos. It's just because I love to talk about the franchise. But I don't know. To me, that seems like Pelinal was on the very verge of achieving Kim. Which, for anyone who's a little bit unfamiliar with what Kim actually is, basically it's when a character within Elder Scrolls comes to the realization that they are a character in a made-up mythos. I believe, I think off the top of my head, I think Vivek reached Kim, or it may have been whoever that dude was in Red Mountain. You guys are going to crucify me for not knowing his name. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Anyway, but basically, and that's also when the lore speaks about characters who have reached Kim, they use that analogy a lot of realizing that they're in a dream of this like extra dimensional being that can't even be fathomed. So I think it's very interesting that that's how Pelinal describes the power that he holds, and that's how Pelinal describes what it's like to be him and to experience that madness. He thinks that when he goes into these fits of insanity, he thinks that that is the dream no longer needing the dreamer. Him being the dream, and the gods being the ones who dream the dreams, if that makes sense. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think down in the comment section. Thank you for giving me your time today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you stick around because we're going to be deep diving more and more into Pelinal Whitestrake. And per viewer request, the next character after Pelinal Whitestrake is going to be Haskell. I've been the Elder Scrolls Filthy Casual, and I hope you stay happy and stay healthy, and I'll catch you guys next time.